Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
Hey, this is Heath with Team Table War Hawaii.
And welcome to The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where I aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills that they need in order to compete and enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. So this month's episode is our November episode. We're going to talk about some new releases and some previews from the Warhammer Worlds event in Atlanta. We're going to take a look at some top finishes from Dark Angels lists all over the world once again. So Dark Angels are out in force globally. We love to see it. We're going to talk about Heath's experience in the Otherworlds GT. Heath, we got some tournament action out in Honolulu, so I'm getting jealous. I got to get out there. I was actually just talking about that over Thanksgiving with the family. My mom's like, take your father to Hawaii so he can get his 50 states. Please don't take me. I'm like, okay. And then we've got some hobby challenges and then some community comments, and then we'll be a wrap. So, looking at new releases, the big release right now is that we have the new Space Marine Christmas box, the Spearhead Force, where you get 15 Assault Intercessors with the jump packs. You get 3 Outriders in Invader ATV, and then the new Jump Captain. So if you don't have these new models, this is an opportunity to pick them up for $230.
Are those the, you said Jump Pack Assault Intercessors?
Yes, the brand new ones. You get 15 of them.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's not. I mean, the ATV. I'm on the ATV maybe, but okay. Yeah, the new Jump Pack Intercessor or Jump Pack Captain looks nice, right? I am a fan. Right, that is cool. So yeah, I mean, $230. It's a big number, but it's a lot of cool models. I don't have any of the new Assault Intercessors, the Jump Pack, and I don't have the new Captain. I don't think I'm going to get it, but it's definitely just because those things don't synergize as well. I don't know. Maybe because
I will tell you,
drop action pieces, right?
Right, but just as price point wise, all the Jump Pack guys is like $220, I think, or close to $220. So you're picking up a $60 unit of Outriders, and then like a $40-$50 out ATV for free, basically.
Okay, well, I've got 3 of the value. Yeah, I've got 3 of the ATVs and so many and like 6 Outriders. I probably don't. Yeah, but
Heath, don't forget, Outriders now get big squads. Now in the new Codex, they got bigger. They got the expanded squads, so now you need more than you ever needed before.
You can run 6. But as a Dark Angel, I don't know if you're going to run a lot of Outriders because you have Black Knights, and we can talk more about that later. But okay, so. All right. But I will say, what about them new Deathwing Knights, boys? What about them new Deathwing Knights? Oh,
I'm going to say that the preview from the Atlanta World Championships for the Deathwing Knights, seeing those new special helmets and the new hooded helmets makes me go, I'm glad I haven't built my Leviathan Terminators yet, because there's definitely going to be some head swapping going on, so that I have more Dark Angelified Leviathan Terminators. Because to probably match the ones I already have, I'm probably going to put hoods on these guys, and then put the hoods on them, and then put the helmets on the Leviathan guys. But I could be persuaded to go the other way. Definitely going with the swords. Swords are cool.
I love the sword and board, right? Like, and the fact that they've got the little tilting plates right on the shoulder, super love it. And I'm gonna tell you, the first thing I thought of when I saw those was these boys right here.
Oh, yeah, the Forge Fold ones.
Oh, and in case you haven't seen, the Inner Circle Knights Cenobiums.
Oh, I remember when you went and got those.
I've had these in a box for over a year, and it's like, I don't want to like carve them up in that much, right? But now you can do sword ones. Oh, it is on like Donkey Kong. What I'm going to do, though, you see, because they have swords and a plasma caster on their left forearm.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to put a little magnet in there so I can just magnetize the shield on. Right, and I'll use a 3D printed shield or something like that, but because I don't want to modify the models that much. But good God, those look cool. So,
and don't forget, one of my favorite parts about any Warhammer army is the diminutive little figures that accompany them. We have a brand new Watcher in the Dark,
and he has incense. He actually lit the incense.
Yes,
so good on him. Yeah, and the heraldry on the shield looks cool.
Yep.
as opposed to the the winged angel that's been on most of the other ones, and the new maces that they have.
Yeah.
The flanged maces, like a la an actual knight weapon instead of the big bonky balls. I like the bonky balls, but those look dope as well.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm super
Yep.
excited about this unit and what it's going to do. Yes.
Speaking about that smoke, that really leads us into our second reveal. Where do you take smoke Asmodai or no smoke Asmodai? The answer is smoke Asmodai.
Smoke Asmodai is clearly the correct answer. Yeah. Smoke Asmodai is he'd be out there, he'd be out there buffing, man. It's yeah. I don't know, like how I'm curious to see when the codex comes out how the lore about how the lion and the rest of the chapter kind of work out some of their philosophical differences. I was kind of the opinion that Asmodai may have been not high on our Lord Father L. Johnson's good graces because of it.
Wait, you're saying he's not big on the Johnson?
Why we got to go there, man? It's a family show. So,
need I remind everybody that one half this podcast was in the Navy?
yeah, that was me. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. No.
Anyway, I'm super excited about this. This was cool.
It's a cool looking model.
And I have some friends that are into 40K and they don't care about Dark Angels. They just love the memes around Asmodai. So I know they're super stoked and will probably end up buying this model. Unfortunately, they'll probably end up desecrating it and trying to turn it into a Black Templars
or something.
chaplain.
Look, just from a composition standpoint, right? Look at the way that he's holding the sword, right? The sword is pointing down, right? I am personally of the stance that it is objectively much cooler, right? For you to be posing dramatically like that with a weapon, right? You're pointing it down, it's pointed at the sun, you're surveying the battlefield, than the heroic up in the air, right? Like the old 90s style. So it is, from a composition standpoint, I'm all about it. It is right where I want. That's why I converted a Helbrecht model, speaking of heresy, into Azrael, because I like the composition of that pose better. And I did it before the new Azrael model came out, but hey, whatever. What are you going to do? So,
well, let's also not forget that in the original Primaris upgrade sprue for Dark Angels, this sort of pose with your hand holding your sword down was one of the key pieces they added in for you to customize your normal Space Marine models.
It's great, yeah. So, yeah, Asmodai is over there looking straight G, man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what are we doing? God, that's such a cool model.
And then I guess just as an homage, because I do like when the new plastics come out for Heresy, there are new Heresy Assault Marines coming out. So if you want sort of that classic look or that more rustic look Assault Intercessors, or you just want to buy 10 at a time instead of 5 at a time, you will be able to get these guys. And these guys also don't have the dramatic pose. If you looked at these, they're all sort of on the ground as opposed to the descending from above. But they also come with storm shields and stuff. So there's some cool posing and things. And they have this newer lightning claw that I think is pretty cool, where they have injector things on top of their hands that look pretty cool. So, and they're all beakies. So I love beaky Marines. So if you're a big beaky fan, there are new beakies on the way. So don't miss out. All right.
The new Night Lord models are legitimately Night Lord too. Yeah.
Oh. So speak of some non-Dark Angels minis, I'm almost ready to go play Chaos. As much as everyone says, you play Dark Angels, you play Chaos already. I want to play actual Chaos.
That's been funny for I don't know, 20 years, but that's fine. Yeah. It's God, be original. All right.
But yeah, those Night Lord guys make me want to play Chaos because they're that cool.
That's a good way to say it. Okay. All right. So what do we got here?
Queen City October or Oktoberfest? The Oktoberfest, yes. The only appropriate way to name an event during October for 40K is Oktoberfest.
This is true. It is not.
So this is a 40-player GT, 5 rounds in Springfield, Missouri. It's the Queen City. We have Chris Green with the Gladius Task Force in first place. Campbell is a sweetheart, so Campbell, whoever you are, you apparently are pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the name of the list. All right. What do you got? What's the
Yeah,
rundown?
keep sweet list names coming in. We will read them out as long as they're appropriate and family friendly. I guess to a point. There's a point where we have to cut this off. But anyway, we have the Apothecary Biologus with the Fire Discipline.
We already know this is
Stop me if
going.
you've heard
Yep.
this before. Azrael, Librarian and Phobos armor, regular Lieutenant with Mastercrafted Bolter, Power Fist, and Artificer armor. We have
Okay.
5 Intercessors with the Sergeant with the Thunderhammer, lovely jubbly. We have an Impulsor. We have the Big Aggressor Squad with the Grenade Launchers and the Bolt Storm Gauntlets. We
Yep.
have Las Fusel Eliminators, although the Sergeant still has the Bolt Carbines, so we have movement shenanigans. We have a second squad of Eliminators with movement shenanigans and Las Fusels. 3 Eradicators. We got 1 multi-melta in there with the melta rifles. A second squad of that. We have a Lancer.
Okay.
We have non-plasma Inceptors. Now, this might be a typo thing, but it could also just be we have some Assault Bolter Inceptors. We also have some Plasma Inceptors. We also have Infiltrators of Helix Gauntlet. We have a Land Raider Redeemer. We have the Scout Squad with a missile launcher, 1 shotgun, 2 shotguns.
Missile launcher and a scout sniper rifle. I thought you
Okay.
had to, it was either the. I thought you could either take the missile launcher or the sniper rifle. Huh.
I have to go double check.
Yeah, I have
And
to
then we
double
got
check
the
that.
Whirlwind.
And
And
that
then
is
sort
it.
of those last. And the last note was the final round was a 127 point victory against Peyton Priest with an Ascension Day Gene Stealer Colt list. So Gene Stealer Colt got the top table, ran into this,
And
and
just got
shredded.
bodied. Because infiltrators will do that to Gene Stealer Colts. Right. And this is a high tech piece. Like it seems very well suited to dealing with Gene Stealer Colt because
Yes.
aggressors, Flamestorm gauntlets, Flamestorm Redeemer, right? Eliminators just we can out piece you almost, and the infiltrators will lock you out of dropping in right on some of the blips. So that's a fortuitous matchup. I'm interested in the Eradicators. I've looked at Eradicators and haven't been. It's like I don't know, but for 95 points, that's actually pretty good. They're once again Eradicators. The melt rifles, the strength of those weapons isn't high enough to really threaten vehicles, but I think they get rerolls to wound against vehicles or something like that. So they're kind of keeping with.
They lost the
yeah
the ability to shoot twice.
yeah they did lose the double shoot, right? But and in keeping with kind of 10th edition design philosophy, infantry carried weapons aren't really good enough to threaten vehicles. Like so, all those the multi-melta and melt rifles roll strength 9, but each time a range attack made by the model in this unit targets a monster or vehicle, you can reroll the hit, wound, and damage. So you get full rerolls against monsters and vehicles.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, right? So that is spicy. So once again, like you can, I learned a lot about about Space Marines playing in this 5-round tournament and managing where your rerolls go and all that kind of stuff. It's just resource management. And so having sources of rerolls that are not reliant on oath lets you get a lot more efficacy. So, but yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Reroll, yeah. So the problem is they're a little short range because they're only 18 inches. So anyway,
correct.
But so yeah, so the 2 Inceptor drops, one's Bolter, one's Plasma. I think that might be a so Plasma is great for some things, right? But for other things, it's not, right? Like I've a couple times looked and said, man, I wish I could drop in and clear off that big unit of cultists that are sitting on a jet.
Exactly. Yes.
Plasma doesn't do that, right? Plasma will clear heavy infantry, but it's not as good at the numbers, right? So I feel like that's maybe why he took that, right? Obviously, there's the Phobos Librarian and Infiltrator combo here, right? To make a lone operative squad that locks out the middle of the board, right? Just a lot of cool little tech pieces. And this kind of list is going to be very much reward smart, researched, informed play, right? So it's not just, I've got so much dice I can throw at you with weight of numbers, which is what some of the Iron Storm type lists do. But yeah, Anyway, well done, sir.
Well, and with the fact that you have eliminators, 2 squads of eliminators, and you have inceptors and infiltrators and a scout squad. You have 4 units that forward deploy, and then the inceptors give you the ability to deep strike within 3 inches on top of something. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
going first into this Genestealer cult matchup and you get to drop your infiltrators or your deep strikers first, you can basically box out the entire board. So if they
Yeah,
have anything in reserve, there's just nowhere for them to go for the rest of the game, and they're done.
yeah, it's tough. I'm curious what he puts in the impulsor. Um, is it the double? Is it the 2 eliminators? Maybe like 2 squads of eliminators, or is it the intercessors and where? Because as we have Azrael, right, but we don't have the usual suspects, which is the Hellblasters.
Yeah, so I'm assuming then at that point, potentially have Lieutenant Azrael going to the intercessor squad, but if they go in that squad, then they can't go in the
They
impulsor,
can't
which
go in
then
the impulsor,
opens the door to
right?
do double eliminator so basically the impulsor becomes a platform for 4 las cannons, which is
Right.
pretty cool.
I've done that before. It's cool. It's cute. It works. But yeah, so I am kind of curious what the leadership plan here is. It's got to be Azrael Lieutenant Intercessor. So yeah. Anyway,
But even that in an impulsor is still good because you can start the game with your dudes on an objective, sticky it, hop them in the tank, get your command point.
that would be 7 guys, which you couldn't jump into the impulsor then, right?
Right.
So yeah, but you start on the objective, you sticky it, then you could get the CP, then you could hop in. I guess, yeah, and then once again, it depends on why the lieutenant is there. I'm not sure. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I'm not having nothing's really jumping out to me, right? Unless the plan is just let them sit there, right? Let them sit there and cook, right? And maybe he just says, "Well, I got points for a lieutenant," or he wants the fallback charge. I'm not sure. So,
All right.
all right,
Well, congratulations, Chris, on your victory at the Queen City Oktoberfest GT. Moving on, we have the Mid Missouri Maelstrom event.
no,
This is 57 players, 5 rounds from Ashland, Missouri. Another first
Missouri.
place.
Okay.
Yep, and another first place Dark Angels. So obviously Missouri is a hub for Dark Angels play. We love to see it. We have Kyle Lamperez there, and he's got an Iron Storm Spearhead. It's called the Iron Angels. So we got you'd want to say biker Dark Angels, but no, son.
Yeah.
That would be Ravenwing. This is the big boys, the big beefy tanky boys.
This is an Iron Wing list. So, all right, we got 3 characters: Azrael, a Target Augury Web Tech Marine, and a Master Machine War Tech Marine. Right. So the Target Augury Web is the 6-inch aura of lethal hits. That's very important. Right, and the Master Machine War is the advanced shoot, fallback, and shoot for vehicles. Right, so then Battle Line, he's got intercessors, 5 of them. Then he's got 10 assault intercessors.
He did the thing. He did the thing.
Maybe he did the thing. Maybe he did the thing. I don't know. Yeah. Right, and then we've got double ballistas, double lancer.
Yes. Ooh.
Right, and then double plasma inceptor. Land Raider Redeemer, and the double Redemptor Dreadnought. This is a tough list, right? This is a tough list. So I played against a list very similar to this, and I will talk about my experiences with it. Right? So the thing that makes this Dark Angel is the only thing that makes this not Iron Father Pharaohs is you have Azrael for the extra CP generation. Right? So there you go. So this list works just by sheer efficacy of shooting, right? And you've got the Inceptors to get your backfield, objective play, right? And you just move this whole thing forward, advance and shoot this whole little bubble, and it just does a lot of damage. Just does a lot of damage. Right.
And I'm assuming here, just looking at this, he's got a Redeemer that potentially you're putting these assault intercessors in there to keep them safe.
And then, they just
deploy them out of it.
Off you go. So,
I love
that could be the thing. So,
So he had a 91-85 victory against Kyle McCord, who had a combined regiment Astra Militarum list in the final round. So big points scored, but also gave up some big points. So you got to be smart in how you play and really get your points where you can, because this list gave up
an
a lot of
85
points.
point loss is a big one. Now, this list obviously gives up what is it? Bring it down, right? You'll max bring it down against this list, no big deal, right? So we can talk about that more later, because that turned out to be one of my strategies. I played against Iron Storm twice in the tournament.
Okay.
So
okay. So in sixth place of this event, we have Steve Boatwright, who also played Ironstorm Spearhead Dark Angels. And the notes we have from Goonhammer are that he had Invictors, Dreads, and a Dark Shroud. So I put that in there because not often that we see Invictors and Dark Shrouds in the same list. So congratulations to Steve for bringing something spicy.
I really like Dark Shrouds in this list because they really make a difference in all your vehicles are in cover.
So Opie's 5 is for Volkite GT. So we got a 40-player GT, 5 rounds in Santa Rosa, California. We have Jake Nelson also running a Ironstorm Spearhead. He's got Dreadnoughts, Lancers, a Dark Shroud, and a bunch of Talon Masters.
All right, and I'm curious of this. I went and pulled this list out because this is kind of how I thought Ironstorm was going to play with Dark Angels. So we've got a Talon Master with Master of Machine War, right? Which once again, it's a 6-inch aura of advance and shoot, fall back and shoot, right? And then you have another Talon Master, which does not have any buffs or any enhancements. Now, Talon Masters are lone operative when they're within 6 inches of another mounted or fly vehicle, which another Talon Master is. So 2 Talon Masters or 3 Talon Masters can screen each other, right?
Oh, boy.
Hit me in the comments. Hit me in the comments. I don't know. That seems to be what it says.
Come at me, bro. Moment.
All right. So now we got the 2 Talon Masters, a Tech Marine with target augury web, because that enhancement is limited to a Tech Marine, right? It's a 40-point enhancement, which is, I think, the most expensive one we've seen this whole edition. Yes. Then you have an Adept of the Omnissiah Tech Marine, which is the 0-1 thing of damage per round. Okay, so that's our characters. Then we've got 2 Gladiator Lancers, a Dark Shroud, 2 Plasma Redemptor Dreadnoughts. My bad, 3 Plasma Redemptor Dreadnoughts. And then we've got 2 Scout Squads, 3 Scout Squads, and 2 Whirlwinds, and a Calidus.
Ugh.
So this is a fast list because those Redemptors are going to move quick, right? They're going to be -1 to hit in cover, so effectively +1 armor, right? Because of the Dark Shroud. You're not going to waste any time shooting at the Dark Shroud, right? Because it's kind of a pain. It's kind of a waste. But even if you do, this thing is going to be bubbled up, right? Like an old, Death Star, so that when you shoot your las cannon at the Dark Shroud, the Omnissiah Adept is just going to 0 the first one, right? And then this thing can splinter off and just, right? Those 2 Talon Masters can shoot off and go do their own thing, right? This is cool, right? This is kind of how I was thinking Ironstorm was going to work, except I probably would have dropped the Lancers for Landspeeder Vengeances.
Okay, go a little more Dark Angel, leaning more.
Yeah, but just once again, because I wanted the speed. But that's me. So it's cool. I like this list. It's neat. It works very well. Once again, it gives up a lot of bring it down points, but it's got multiple Scout Squads. Right, 3 Scout Squads for objective play, and a Calidus Assassin, and 2 Whirlwinds to counter your objective play. So the Whirlwinds will just, indirect fire, right, on basically anything that you got. So, okay. All right.
What's this? What is this event? Other Realms Final Stand GT?
Let's hold off on that one and talk about it last, so we can just roll it straight into the main. But so the next event is 110-player 6-round GT in the Netherlands.
Is that how we're gonna do this?
I'm working up the courage. Regenshoed, Noord-Holland. Netherlands
Gotcha.
on November 18th. So Vincent Koopmans, Dark Angels, Iron Storm Spearhead, second place, undefeated.
Ooh, love it.
Yeah. So Combi Weapon Lieutenant, Augury Web Tech Marine, Adept of the Omnissiah Tech Marine. Then a 5-man Deathwing Knight Squad, a Lancer, a Gladiator Reaper, interesting, 2 Plasma Inceptor squads, an Infiltrator squad, then 1, 2, 3 Redemptors, 2 Scouts, and a Whirlwind.
Okay.
I like the inclusion of the Deathwing Knights. Because they give you a little, wait, do I really want to go in there? Do I really want to? Do I? So, yeah, they give you something you can use to bully the board a bit. Now, my experience is that
there's only 5, and there's no character support.
Correct. My experience is that 5 is not the critical mass you need. Right? 5 you'll lose 2 or 3 of them to shooting a turn, right? And so they will be. Now, it's easier to hide 5 of them, right, and push them to the middle of the board. But yeah, so, but once again, I don't know what else you're going to drop to get the other 10, right? Because that's 235 points, right? That's 1.5 that's like a Redemptor and one of your Scout squads, basically, to get the other 10 of them in there, right?
But when you have 2 Gladiator chassis and 3 Redemptor chassis, are you going to spend your time shooting at the slow-moving Terminator squad? Or are you going to shoot these things that just because with the Reaper, I mean, it's got the twin heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, like that thing's just like ripping damage. So when you're going into this, that chaos, accursed cultist blob, or the big blobs of Gaunts, or the big blobs of boys, or the big blobs of whatever Gene Stealer cult you're running into, like I could see that's a pretty good, effective meta play.
Interesting. I'm glad somebody brought that, right? That's cool. So the Reaper, right? So yeah, there's clearly he thought he needed something to handle big blobs of infantry. Maybe there's a lot of chaos, right? Those 20-man Krieg blobs.
No, I hate the
20-man, which are really annoying.
The 20-man Krieg.
Yeah, or the Necron warrior blobs, right? We we can talk. We'll drop a 100 Secret Orders episode maybe in a couple weeks to talk about Necrons, but anyway, yeah. So okay, once again, different take on Ironstorm, right? Because we've kind of seen Ironstorm narrow down a couple different ways, but this is made Dark Angel-y by the inclusion of the Deathwing Knights, right? And that's basically it, right? So, all right. Cool.
We love to see it. All right, we have the Standoff, 36 players, 5-round GT in Portland, Maine. This is also November 18th. We have Jeffrey Colpitz. He's playing Vanguard, Spearhead.
I missed this one. Let me see if I can go find this. So this
and
is
he's running 18th. That infiltrating Deathwing Knight special. Yeah, the thing that I've been very like, ooh, yes, please. This is what I want to play. So this is, I think we talked about it last month a little bit, where this is kind of where I wanted to go after going to the Florida GT and getting the new codex, is the idea of having movement shenanigans with all my infantry, including the Deathwing Knights, that include, pulling them off the board and putting them in reserve, forward deploying them with an enhancement on a character attached to them. Because who doesn't want to just put your Deathwing Knights 9 inches away from your opponent so you can turn 1, move 5 inches, and then charge into them and just call it a day?
All right, so your boy here, here's his strength of schedule. So game 1, 100 points into, looks like Thunderwolves, so which is a real good list. Then round 2, 97 points into Chaos, right? Okay, Chaos is real good, right? Round 3, this is Drukhari. Okay, 84 points. Drukhari aren't in a great spot right now, but I'm not going to minimize his accomplishments here. If you get to round 3 undefeated, right, and you're pair in a tournament, you're clearly a very skilled Archon.
Yes.
Round 4, right, we got a 90-point win, right, over Sororitas. And 5th round, right, into Votan.
Ooh.
And that was still an 84-point loss. So
Yeah, so
lots
big
of points scored
everywhere.
here, right? Let's take a look at this gentleman's list. All right. Army name, You Can't See Me. So,
Cena.
all right, let's see. I'm going to copy and drop this in our show notes so that Bailey can follow along here. Oop, there
Excellent.
we go. All right, so
Booyah.
what we have here is Azrael, okay? Terminator Chaplain with the blade driven deep. Key part of this Vanguard detachment, right? A combi weapon lieutenant with who's a Shadow War veteran.
Okay, good.
Right? What does the Shadow War veteran do? I don't remember.
I think that's the stratagem messing with one. If I remember off the top of my head.
That's the one that lets him do the Vect thing, I think, maybe? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the Vect one, yeah.
All right, so then here we go. We got 5 intercessors. Cool. And then here's where it gets neat. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Devastator Centurions.
Oh my god.
And then
yes,
10 Deathwing Knights. Now, obviously, you can't blade driven deep the Devastator Centurions, right? But
right.
All right, sure. Then 2 drop Plasma Inceptor, right? Then Infiltrators, Scouts, and then double Lancer and a Calidus.
I like it.
Yeah, like the 10 Deathwing Knights with blade driven deep is, it's drop in the middle of the board. Hey, here, what are you going to do about this? I don't care what you try and do about it, but
and then behind that, this Devastator Centurions is like, are you going to ignore these 10 dudes in your face, or these 6 dudes run around literally obliterating everything else?
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, and they're Devastator Centurions. They're not super fast, but they don't need to be because they shoot, right? So cool. All right, that's interesting. And that double Lancer, right? And mentioned everything is stealthy, right? Because -1, it's that's what the whole Vanguard thing does. So, and the Calidus is just really good. She's really good. So okay, man, that's a tough.
Inceptors, so
yeah,
that's
a good. That is a good total battle points, 455 in a 5-round event. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. He was
definitely... Shadow War veteran is the Vect one, just confirmed.
Yeah, and his final opponent was, the Cullen Burns. So the Votan player ended up winning. It was a 98-point win, 98 to 84, right, over this list.
Wow.
And he is looks like his listed team is U.S. Army Esports, right? So he ain't no scrub.
No.
Right? Representing the United States Army. So there you go. Well done. Well done. All right.
Yep, I love it. Good job, Jeffrey.
So, last one to talk about. Let's hit the Other Realms Final Stand. All right, and we'll just kind of roll this into our main segment. So the highest of the placing of the 3 Dark Angel players there was Robert Moreau. Robert was running Iron Storm Dreadnought or Iron Storm Dark Angels. Mostly, if I got his thing pulled up, there we go. Robert, where's your list? All right. So Rob was running. So he had Azrael, a Librarian and Phobos armor, the Combi Weapon Lieutenant, and the 2 Tech Marines with Adept of the Messiah and Target Augury Web. Right? Then a unit of Intercessors, then double Ballistas, a Brutalis, a Gladiator Reaper, double Inceptor, Infiltrator, double Redemptor, Scouts, Calidus.
Okay.
So
all right. I see where that's going. Yeah.
Really, what this is like Azrael is the only Dark Angel piece here because he's, just giving you the CP you need to make this list work. Other than that, you're basically relying on discarding objectives every turn, right? Which is unreliable at best. So this gives you the ability to challenge the middle of the board. I didn't actually get to watch any of his games. I was at this tournament because we're always just, I don't know, I walked past it a couple times, but yeah. So he did pretty well, obviously. So his first game was into a Nurgle player. His second game was into Space Wolves, right? And his first loss was into Kaleo. Kaleo was playing I brought wolves. Here's 25 Thunderwolves and Logan on his Santa sleigh. And good God in heaven, that list hits like a truck.
Yep. Yes.
Oh my Lord. Right. That was the only game that Robert lost, right? So he was 90. So his second game was a 50-point win. Right. I don't think they finished.
Yeah.
Was what I got told from that. Because his second round opponent was my third round opponent, right? And they didn't finish the game. And then his last two games were both 100-point wins, which is what kicked him up, right, into the top four. So, all right.
Gotcha.
So the other,
it is time, Heath.
So also another one. So this is Joshua Kohavi Sutherland, representing Team Maui no Ko'oi. So Josh was also playing Dark Angels Ironstorm, right? And I actually played him in the 5th round, right? So Josh's list was basically, it's very similar to some of the ones we read before. So it's 3 Tech Marines, one of which has Augury Web, one of which has Master Machine War, right? And one of which has Adept of the Messiah. Then he's got a unit of Plasma Inceptors, 3 units of Scouts, and then a Ballistus, 2 Lancers, 3 Redemptors, 2 Whirlwinds, and a Dark Shroud. And from what he told me, the only reason he played this list as Dark Angels was because he wanted the Dark Shroud, right? And the Dark Shroud made a difference. Because the final game of the tournament on day 2, right, game 5, was a... I got the stuffs. We're going to the stuffs, right? So game 5 was, did I not send it to you?
Just Josh.
There it is. Yeah, Josh Kalavi Sutherland. All right. It was Crucible Battle Chilling Rain, right? So it was basically a long edge or short edge to short edge. So I found myself in a range shooting match with an Ironstorm list. And I got first turn. The thing that made the difference, like why I didn't kill any of his stuff on turn 1, was the Dark Shroud. Because he adepted one of the last cannon wounds away, right? And then I left one of his dreadnoughts on 1 wound, right? And the Dark Shroud made all the difference, right? So that game was looking real rough until the Deathwing Knights got home, right? And then it looked a little bit more winnable. But anyway, so yeah. So that was Josh's list. So then let's go ahead and go to me, right? So to summarize, so I landed straight middle of the pack, right? 28-player event, I was number 15. I finished 2 and 3. Which is, I think, underrepresents my overall performance. Once again, right? Win-loss is ultimately the only stat that matters. But I had a 70-point loss into Necrons on round 1, right? Then a 96-point win into Ironstorm, right? Iron Hands, full-on Iron Hands. You had Iron Father Pharaohs, right? And then I had a 40-point loss into Space Wolves, and then an 84-point win into Chaos, and then a 63-point loss into Dark Angels Ironstorm. So I scored 350 battle points, which is pretty good. I was actually pretty happy with that performance.
That's good.
I scored more battle points than the next 2 people on top of me. Right? Actually,
that's always good.
The next 5 or 6 people on top of me. Right? So
it seems to be a theme with Dark Angels that you just crank out points. Doesn't matter how you win or lose the game, you just crank points.
So the number 8 player was the next one up that scored more battle points than me, right? So yeah. Anyway, so just to briefly run down my list, and I sent you a copy of it so we can put it on a graphic in the show. But scrolling back up to where it is. Whoop. So we talked about it a bit, I think, on the last episode, but did make some changes based on the discussions that we had. So the core of it's pretty similar, right, to what you would expect. And I'm stalling as I'm scrolling, trying to find where this thing is. Anyway, screw it. I'll just read it off the website. All right. So
there we go.
All right. So this is a Gladius list because I've been playing Gladius for a long time. I was comfortable with it, and I didn't want to change and get fancy. Right. So I had a Biologos with Fire Discipline, Azrael, a Terminator Captain with the Honor of a Hemant, a Combi Weapon Lieutenant, then a squad of Boltstorm Aggressors. I paid for 6 of them, but I only brought 5 because I couldn't fit all of them into the Land Raider. So because I didn't have a Land Raider Redeemer built, and honestly, even if I had the 40 extra points to pay for it, I liked the double Godhammer las cannons because that's a lot of anti-tank shooting. So, all right. So then I had a Ballistus, the 10 Deathwing Knights, 10 Hellblasters, the Land Raider, 5 Scouts, a Storm Speeder Thunderstrike, and a Calidus. So, So, what I did differently with this list, I think the last time we talked about, was I realized I needed more objective play. So I tweaked it around a little bit. I added the Scouts, right? And I made sure I can get the Calidus in there, right? And I don't remember what I talked about doing the last time, but basically, I ended up with the points I had left over, putting the Terminator Captain, giving him the Honor of a Hemant. And that actually made a pretty big difference. I firmly believe in taking the Relic Fist on the Terminator Captain because that unit needs a high strength weapon that can punch into high damage stuff,
right,
or to high toughness stuff. Because even the Knight Master only has his flail is only strength 6, even though it's AP2 and has devastating wounds. It's only strength 6. Yeah. So when you're doing the math on, I need +1. I'm doing +1 wound on stuff. That Terminator Captain is going to be wounding on 4s and AP2, AP3 if you're in the Assault Doctrine, right, into most vehicles, right, which is actually really good. So and way we saw this list run in Index Space Marines was that you would give the Terminator Captain the Adept of the Codex. But I didn't realize this until somewhat recently. They actually changed that in the Codex. So it used to be, it said this leader and his unit can fall back, shoot, and charge. What it says now is you can declare yourself to be in the Tactical Doctrine at any time. So subtle difference, right? Because this unit wants to be in the Assault Doctrine so they can get the maximum benefit out of Honor of the Chapter. Right, I can fall back, charge back in, use my free stratagem to use Honor of the Chapter. Lance doesn't trigger unless you're charging, right? And then if I'm in Assault Doctrine, I get the additional point of AP as well, right? So the change to Adept of the Codex kind of breaks that combo. So I was like, okay, well, we'll go Honor of Vehement just because I have the points, and having that extra 1 or 2 attacks, because Honor of Vehement goes to 2 attack bonus if you're in the Assault Doctrine. And that's a big deal because that means he gets like 7 punches with that stupid fist, and it's great. Anyway.
Yep, I like that.
So this list worked pretty well. It really did. Those Deathwing Knights are just monsters. My first opponent was Necrons, as I said. Really good, really skilled opponent. He knew Necrons really well. It was a double Lich Guard list. And I don't remember if I went first or not. This is what I get for trying to run this like 3 weeks after talk about this 3 weeks after the fact. But anyway,
based on the way it's showing on the scoreboard, I think he went first.
I think that's probably the case. So so I took tactical objectives. He took tactical objectives, and we basically, maneuvered in position. He shot, didn't really do much. I shot, almost killed his reanimator because he left it out a little sloppy. But he didn't fall for the bait of trying to charge my Deathwing Knights. Instead, on turn 2, he charged my Deathwing Knights with both units of Lich Guard at the same time. Right? And that kind of worked. I still managed to punch through. I killed an entire unit of Lich Guard and most of the second unit, and I just kind of ran out of resources between shooting. Because I dumped the aggressors and and my Hellblasters and the Knights into that second unit, and just like I'm like the feeling of pain on those things is just so good, right? And just wasn't quite efficient enough, and left 1 or 2 alive, and they just started reanimating. And he had a big warrior blob. They went and they took an objective. I just ignored them. Screw it. I'm not interacting with that anymore. But I managed to hold, basically really effectively hold 3 objectives for a good portion of the game. And ended up scoring 30 on primary, 30 on secondaries, 10 for battle ready. And he outscored me by 4 points, basically. Or sorry, no, he got 45 on primary and additional 4 on secondary. So it was a 79-70 defeat.
Yeah. So the difference was there in that back half. Once you ran out of resources, he was able to pop on the objectives and start racking in primary.
Yeah, he out primaried me, and because I could never get to his home objective, and he just uncontested sat on 1. I held the center for a good portion for the first 2 turns of the game. So, he went 5, 10, 15, 15 on primary. I went 10, 10, 5, 5. Right. Yeah. I outscored him on secondary, right? Because he had a couple of bad draws. He drew, cleanse on turn 1, which is a bad draw. Right. He drew overwhelming force and deploy teleport homers on turn 2, which requires him to go to the middle of the board, which means my Knights can just block. Right.
Yeah.
And which is what they want to do. Right. So I got area denial and assassinate on turn 2. On turn 3, and he drew, he tossed area denial and drew storm hostile and assassinate, right? Which he got, right? And then he got tempting target, secure no man's land, and he was not able to get capture enemy outpost or behind enemy lines on last turn. So once again, close game. I think there was like if I had made one little move a little better with how I kind of anchored my, how I'd moved my night blob, I could have done a bit better job of getting in and killing killing that second Lich Guard squad, right? Or reapportion my shooting in a slightly more effective way. It was definitely a winnable game, and it was coming down to like that last turn where it's like, oh man. So anyway, yeah. So that's what's up.
It just looks like he just got hurt on objectives that required speed. Which makes sense with Necrons. And
he had a unit of Tomb Blades that was trying to basically strive around my left flank, and then he had a unit of Death Marks and a Hex Mark that dropped in to try and shoot my lone operative. Oh, that's what it was. I forgot my Combi Weapon Lieutenant's reroll wound ability.
No.
I just completely forgot about it. I didn't even deploy the guy until turn 2 because I forgot about him, right? So it was like, oh crap, I forgot to deploy this guy. You mind? I'll just put him in deep strike, right? He's like, sure, no worries. And then I forgot about his rule, which I would have declared for the middle of the board because I knew that's where all the scrum was going to be with 2 units of Lich Guard and 1 unit of Deathwing Knights. Yeah. And not rerolling 1s to wound against Lich Guard, that would have flipped the game, right? Because I had just barely not killed that second unit of Lich Guard. Anyway, so frustrating, right? I would have killed that second unit of Lich Guard, which means I would have held primary the whole turn, the whole game. Anyway, whatever. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. But it's big points. I mean, you have primary, getting behind enemy lines on turn 1 instead of say a turn 2 is pretty brutal. Because basically any turn but turn 1 you can score that, I would think. And tempting target's always hard, especially when he's like, oh yeah, I picked the one that has all my Necron wares on it. It's like, yeah, sure. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Big hand there.
Sure.
So,
yeah, it's like,
and capture enemy outpost. Again, if capture enemy outpost is late game and your Deathwing Knights are rolling, that's
which
easy.
I have done before, right? It's like, okay, I'm gonna hold on to this, right? The Deathwing Knights are doing their thug fizzle right down the middle of the board. You can absolutely walk into his objective and just punch him off of it. But Anyway, so yeah, so that's what I forgot a rule, right? And so after that, I made a little index card and I set it like don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, right? And I still forgot it a couple more times. Like, oh crap, I can reroll once to wound here. But
Yep.
all right,
That's
so
about the tall and
so
short of it.
mad. Oh my god, I was so mad at myself. Anyway, so game two played against Tadaji. He played a Iron Hands list, full on Iron Hands. Um, Brief summary of what this looks like. Um, uh, so we had a Captain in Gravis armor with 10 heavy intercessors.
Oh, nice.
Iron Father Pharaohs, a Tech Marine with Adept Neo Messiah, and another Tech Marine with no enhancements. And then Ballistus, Brutalis, Double Redemptor, 5 Terminators, Triple Vindicator.
Oh, I remember you sending me a picture of this list.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary, right? It's a big old parking lot.
Yeah.
It was. I looked at it. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so." And anyway, I actually do have a couple pictures of this, so maybe we can put them we'll put them in so we can get a visual. But I looked at it and I wasn't sure how this was going to play out, but it worked out in my favor. It was a 96-19 win because
I
what I
say,
did
I would agree with that.
was I chose fixed objectives. I said, okay, assassinate, bring it down. Because you've got characters, you've got vehicles, and I have the means to kill both of those things. And what I realized when I did this was this list works really, really well into that because I can say I don't have to keep anything on my home objective. Right? This particular mission, which was search and destroy Chilling Reign, right? You don't get points for scoring your home objective, right? It's the deploy servo skulls, right? This is the one where you move the no man's land objectives around, right? So like, I don't give a crap about my home objective. Go forth, right? Fear no darkness, right? And holy crap, round one, right? He killed a couple of Terminators, right? They were queued up right outside Nitro's center of the board.
Yeah.
They declared assault doctrine, or they flipped into assault doctrine, charged the middle of the board, right? I'd done a lot of shooting, basically killed, I think, his ballista or his Brutalis. I made an 8-inch charge, and those Terminators hit his front line and just killed everything.
Excellent.
They went hard in the paint. So yeah. I got 4 points for assassinate and 6 points for bring it down on turn 1. I got 4 points for assassinate, 6 points for bring it down on turn 2. And I have a 10-man Terminator blob on his side of the board, just pushing, right? And they're moving the service skull with them. My intercessors, so my aggressors and my hellblasters dumped. They moved out to the left, dumped everything into in his heavy intercessor squad, killed it, right? Gone, right? And then anyway, this was I think I tabled him at the end of turn 4, right?
Dang.
So yeah, it was spicy. So yeah, that's how that worked out. Not much else to say about that. But I think the realization, this is the first time I think I'd played fixed objectives, and when you can into Iron Storm, it's a good choice because it frees you up from having to make some other decisions, right? Or keep stuff in reserve, or not in rules reserve, but units uncommitted, so that you can respond to a investigate signals draw or an engagement on fronts draw or something like that, right? So when you're presented with that, it's something you should really consider because Iron Storm lists are going to have a lot of characters. And if you're getting into their vehicles, you're getting into their characters as well. So,
well, and then the other issue is that when you're playing the tactical and you're not playing the fixed, is you're going to have to put some stuff out in the middle of the board that all they do are do actions and they're not killing things, and they then immediately get killed. So you're playing into the hands of the Iron Storm list when you trying to play those, deploy teleport homers, the behind enemy lines, I have to go into the corners for it. Yeah, so I could see where that's definitely to your advantage. Just be like, I don't care about all that stuff. I'm just going to kill you.
So this one I was able to, and the reason the combi lieutenant and the scouts and the Calidus are in the list is for objective play like that. So I was able to use the his 2 CP or his stratagem that gives the vehicles 5-up sustained lethal hits. Right, I was like, nope, that costs more CP. You're never doing that again. So Anyway, and I was able to use the scouts to like kind of bait off his one of his fight his Gravis captain or his fighty characters. It worked out pretty well. So and the Thunderstrike made a big difference. It's like, all right, put all my shooting to that's gonna die. No shit, that's gonna die. Right. So yeah. Okay, so round 3 was into Todd Kincaid. I've talked about him on this list before. This is the CEO of Table War, right? Sponsor of the team, right? The progenitor of these fine cases. So he runs. He's a Space Wolf player, and this was a high pressure melee combat list. So
is that why you only have 5 primary points?
Yes. And this one, yeah. Now, once again, I had a shot to win this game, and I got a little greedy on turn 2, right? Okay. So he had a jump pack captain with a relic shield and a thunderhammer with portents of wisdom. Then he had 2 Wolfguard battle leaders on Thunderwolves, 2 Wolf Lords on Thunderwolves, and Ragnar Blackmane. He had 2 intercessor squads and a squad of 10 blood claws. Then he had Fenrisian Wolves, 30 points for a unit that can just sit on an objective, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? 2 Infiltrator units, a Redemptor, an Executioner, a Repulsor Executioner, and then 2 squads of 3 Thunderwolf Cavalry, a squad of 5 Wolfguard that's going to go with Ragnar, and then a squad of Vanguard Veterans with jump packs that goes with the jump pack captain. Now, 3 Thunderwolf Cavalry with a Wolf Lord and a Wolfguard Battle Leader on Thunderwolf with each of them is 2 just like, yeah. So he got first turn. They advanced, they moved, they set up, they took an objective, and I moved my Deathwing. Sorry. Yeah, so I had moved my Deathwing Knights up to basically form a right flank, right, to refuse a flank by anchoring it between 2 pieces to mounted units in passable terrain. And then I was like, well, his squad of wolf guards or of jump pack guys are over there, right? And they've all got storm shields, right? So they've all got invul saves, right? And so what if I move my Hellblasters up and I get Azrael in range and I get some of those devastating wounds over there, right? That'll clear a lot of those things off. And then when he moves at me, I can just use the squad tactic stratagem to react move back behind my Terminators. I got greedy. I moved that unit probably 3 or 4 inches too far out to get 1 extra shot with Azrael's weapon, get it in rapid fire range, and didn't. I should have stayed behind the screen of the Deathwing Knights and just shot over them, right?
Gotcha.
So, I split the shooting between the Vanguard, the veterans, and one of his units of Thunderwolves, right? So, he had a unit of Thunderwolves in the middle of the board. I shot at them, and the aggressor shot the other one. I ended up killing that unit, and then the other unit, which I was kind of relying on, he's going to charge Deathwing Knights. He's going to bounce off. I'm going to counter fight. It's going to be a problem. They charged the end of the line. They got the Deathwing Knights and they got the Hellblasters, and that did not work out for me. So by not correctly screening my right flank, I lost a full unit of Hellblasters, including Azrael on turn 2, and that would have swung the game because I killed everything. Right, those Deathwing Knights and the aggressors, right, and all the rest of my stuff. My Calidus made a hero play. Like I think I drew deploy teleport Homer and capture enemy outpost.
Yeah, I see that here. Yeah.
And I was able to score both of those at the same time on round 2. I had picked the Calidus up at the end of round 1. I dropped the Calidus on his home objective, deployed a teleport Homer, satisfied capture enemy outpost, and that was the one that his intercessors had stickied. So I had like a 13-point swing, right, with just that. right? And that kind of put me back in the shot, right? But the fact that I had to spend the rest of the game, like instead I lost one of my this list has 3 primary pieces, right? I guess it has the Hellblasters, it has the Knights, and it has the Aggressors, and then the shooting, right? And losing the Hellblasters on turn 2 and the CP generation they made was a big problem. So that was what lost me this game. Failing that, I could have easily, pushed back out of it, right? And finished everything off, and would have been a much closer game. So, anyway, that's where I'm at.
I do love that deep strike like score. That's like totally a me thing. I love that you were able to get that double whammy. Take that objective, score all those points, and that's a god level play. I love it. That's Primarch level play.
All right, so I finished day 1, 1 and 2, but once again, I know what I did wrong, right? And I don't think I wasn't more like I played a tournament in Maui a couple, the end of last year where I was 0-3 on the day, right? And the first 2 games I was like very close, absolutely had a shot, right? And the third game I just got straight bodied by Tau, and there was nothing I could do about it, right? But this one I was like feeling pretty good. So okay, I can definitely turn this around. So round 4, game 1 of Sunday, I played Nicholas Kadama. He had a chaos list entitled "Therapy is okay, but Vashtor is better." So this one is why I'm counting this game overall as a win, or this tournament overall as a win, because he brought his epic heroes were Vashtor the Arcaphane, Abaddon the Despoiler, and Cypher.
Oh my! Okay.
Cypher, named Zahariel, born of Caliban. So then his other characters were a Master Possession and 2 Warpsmiths. And then he had a 5-man Terminator squad, 5 Possessed, 2 Forge Fiends, and a Lord of Skulls.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, Lord of Skulls, 2 Forge Fiends. Those Forge Fiends each had 3 ectoplasma cannons. Right, or I guess one had 3 ectoplasm cannons, one had 2 Hades, one had an ectoplasm cannon, right? And this is that's a tough. Those things are dangerous.
Yes.
So they are real dangerous. Anyway, because they have 3d3 shots with these guns that are like 3 damage each, right? And they can do devastating wounds, right? It's crazy. Anyway, so he put the Lord of Skulls right in the middle. Vashtor's behind it, right? And the Forge Fiends are sitting on each objective with a Warpsmith next to each one, and Cypher was in his backfield objective, right? And Cypher is basically a Calidus assassin for Chaos Marines. So we had a big piece of blocking terrain in the middle of the board, just short edge to short edge. The missions were sweeping engagement and chosen battlefield, so we could set up objectives a little bit, I think. Or this was one where you had to I think this one was the ritual, because we had to drop.
Yeah, this has
the no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, there we go. I was looking at the wrong one.
So Hammer and Anvil, Chilling Rain, and then the ritual.
Yeah, Hammer and Anvil, Chilling Rain, the ritual. So anyway, I plan on, and I had one things I do highly recommend. My buddy and I that were going to this tournament together, we spent the night before, because all the missions were published, right? So we went through and said, okay,
right,
how are we going to plan to score these objectives? And I had said, okay, if I move, so with the ritual, I move down, right, and I go over this way, I had planned pre-gamed
right,
what my strategy for scoring the ritual was going to be. So I just executed that plan, and it worked really well. I didn't know what the terrain was going to be like, obviously. I just kind of modified a little bit to keep cover. But I was able to deploy everything pretty much in cover, so I didn't lose anything on turn 1, right? I moved out. I went Devastator Doctrine on turn 1, right? Moved everything out. Advanced. Moved my Dreadnought up to get a line of sight angle. Moved my Thunderstrike. Moved the Land Raider. Dumped all my shooting into the what's it called? The Lord of Skulls. Got down to like 10 wounds. In the command phase, I flipped my Knights into Assault Doctrine. They charged right across the middle of the board. They advanced. They rolled like a 5 or 6 to advance. They made a charge. They got contact with Lord of Skulls, and they tore that thing to pieces. right? Just
Nice.
knocked it down. And he's like, "Oh no."
Yep.
Oh no. And then they consolidate right onto an objective. They get some cover. They start taking shooting from the forged fiends, right? Okay, and I lose like half of them, right? More than that, probably down to like 3 or 4. Terminators, and then the Terminators come up. The Terminators charge, right? And Abaddon and the Terminators kind of basically finish them off, right? So, and then he has a bunch of possessed that move around. So then my next turn, the aggressors get out and they do their thing, right? Their Storm of Fire thing onto the possessed, basically kill them. They're all but one of them are dead.
Yeah.
And then they're going to make their charge. They make their charge into the possessed, finish killing the possessed, and they consolidate towards the objective. So, and then Azrael and the Hellblasters move to the middle of the board and into this building. That's this ruin. And then so he goes on his turn, the Terminators had taken a lot of shooting from my Land Raider and a couple other things. They're down to like maybe I think 2 or 3 Terminators left plus Abaddon. They move towards Azrael. I Overwatch, kill all the remaining Terminators.
Oh my, yeah, that's
right. And he's
good.
like, no, that's fine. I'm going to go in there, right? So Abaddon charges Azrael, kills all but like 3 of the Hellblasters in the middle of the board. Azrael draws a Sword of Secrets and slays Abaddon in single combat.
Yeah,
roll like 5 6s to wound and just boom, right? Just
all the
him
devil
straight down, right? Yeah, there we go. So
yeah,
then all the rest of my forces just move up the flanks. I managed to kill Vastro with shooting. I get Azrael and the Hellblasters shoot and charge one of the Forged Fiends. I kill the other Forged Fiend with a Thunder Strike. The aggressors make a 10-inch charge.
Ooh, there you go. That's skill.
To get into Cypher and punch him to death in close combat. So now I have to paint
pretty good.
That unit of aggressors bone white because they killed Cypher. So there you go. That's a thing I'm probably going to do in the next month. So
that's worthy. That's yes, I agree. This should be done.
So anyway, 84-22 in my favor. I scored. I took Assassinate and Bring It Down as fixed objectives because Vastor is a character and his vehicle, and he had multiple worksmiths. He had Abaddon, right?
Yep.
So yeah. So I got
that makes sense to me.
Yeah, 5 for the ritual turn 2, 5 for the ritual turn 3, and then 15 and 15 turns 4 and 5. I scored 5 for Bring It Down on turn 3, 3 for Bring It Down on turn 5 on turn 2, 3 on turn 3, 12 for Assassinate on turn 3, which is when I got in. I killed Vastor, Abaddon, I think, and the Warts. I don't know. I killed a lot of stuff. Right, it just all went downhill from there. Right, this was the first game I actually lost the Deathwing Knights. The Forge Fiends were able to, So, but good lord. Right? Anyway, okay, and then round 5. So now I'm 2-2. Was into Josh Kolavi Sutherland. As discussed, how that went. I was able to. I kind of lost the range shooting match because of the Dark Shroud. And I was able to get the Deathwing Knights across the table, right? And I got a charge off on one of his Redemptors and all 3 of his Tech Marines, and just in one go killed all the Tech Marines. And the problem, so he, so. I used my Calidus to make Armor Contempt more expensive, and I think he spent like 6 CP over the course of the game on Armor Contempt, maybe 7, right? Because he did it once, and then he saved up and did it 3 more times, right? And Redemptor Dreadnoughts are really durable with Armor Contempt on, especially the stuff that's only AP 1 or 2, right? So Yeah.
That's
So
fair.
that's why I had a bit of a hard time killing that. I chose the wrong secondaries on this. I looked at Iron Storm. I said, bring it down, assassinate. And he's like, are you sure you want to assassinate? I'm like, well, yes, we got 3. I don't know. Maybe I'll take deploy teleport homers. I think I can get deploy teleport homers. Right. So I only got 6 points for bring it down, which is a shame because I thought I was going to be a little more effective on shooting. If I had been a little more effective on shooting on round 1, I don't know if I could have done anything different on that, or if that was just kind of a dice roll. Because I wasn't able to, like, the Redemptors were just more durable than I thought they were going to be. That's all there was to it,
fair.
right? And I didn't think he was going to be willing to spend all that CP on armor contempt. So
Right.
I ran out of CP to use, and I just found myself in situations where I couldn't fall back and charge back in, right, and get and get +1 to and couldn't get the assault doctrine off. So he would armor contempt, and now my knights are he's going to get 2-up save on the Redemptor against my knights, and that sucks. And that's why I didn't kill as much, right? So if I chose assassinate, I probably still would have scored about the same. But it was the bring it down that I struggled on. So I didn't quite. I ended up with my Deathwing Knights on his objective, right? And he had both the Lancers and both the Whirlwinds left. And I had killed the Ballistas. I'd killed one of the Redemptors. I don't think I killed the other one. All right, so yeah. And then without the Knights, I don't have a great answer for damage reduction stuff with this list because Hellblasters aren't great at it. The aggressors can do it, but it's I'm a little off the aggressors now because they're kind of a one-trick pony and they require, well, one, you have to be able to get them, they have to be on the board to start, right? Unless you're going to be army-wide Devastator Doctrine, right? Because you have to be on the board to put them in Devastator Doctrine, which means they can't be in a transport. And to get the maximum effect of it, they need to be close range and that needs to be your Oath to Moment target. So all those things lining up didn't always work out.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think one of the things I might want to do going forward, I have another version of this list where I'm probably going to drop them and the Land Raider and replace it with like either a Gladiator or a another Ballistas, and then a unit of Black Knights and Samael. Once again, just to make it more Dark Angel-y. But and then I don't know about the Captain. I might go with a Chaplain so that's your +1 wound all the time. Because that way you're able to do, you're getting the effective +1 wound on the Knights, which is what you really need it for, even on turns you didn't charge. And losing the effective -1 AP for Honor of the Chapter does suck. But I don't know. That's where I'm at with this list. I think it's a really good list. I had a 63-point loss where I was basically tabled. But once again, a couple little things, right? I know this was probably the one that I lost the hardest because I don't have a clear picture of what would have been exactly necessary to do differently. I think if I'd have made a slight deployment change, right, where I could have maybe protected the aggressors a little better, right, or protect the Land Raider or longer, then that probably would have been the path to victory. But anyway. So
well, and I think the other thing to think about here is think about from Josh's perspective of the fact that he looked at your secondary and it's like, okay, he only scores points if he kills my stuff, and then just making the commitment CP wise to be like, my stuff will not die. I'll do what it takes.
That's fair. That's a good
to
point.
Not die.
Yeah.
And then the little bit of the mind game of, yeah, sure, I have characters, but are you really going to get to them through all of my vehicles?
And I did.
I mean,
I killed all of
them. Which is always the trap. Like you look at it and you go, there's no way I'm going to get to them, and then you don't take assassinate. And then I think part of it is the fact that when people know you don't take assassinate, they don't play as carefully with their characters. So you end up being in that situation where you do end up killing all of them, and then you go, I should have taken. Or darn it, I should have taken assassinate. And
once again, not taking assassinate wasn't the thing that lost me this game. It was the fact that I wasn't able to kill most of his vehicles. And I think
was great. Great commitment on his part to keep that. But it's just like I feel like sometimes we get caught when we make that decision with assassinate of, oh well, if I'd taken it, I would have scored it. But I also feel like maybe the opportunity to just kill all their characters wouldn't have been there because they weren't thinking about
they
their
would have
characters
deployed them
because they
differently.
know
That's
it's not a
absolutely
problem.
true.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
You can't you can't make these changes in a vacuum, right? They're going to respond differently to that information. So that's why you can only challenge a play before the next play begins. So
right, exactly.
So yeah, I didn't maximize the effect of my turn one shooting with my deployment because I had a board that didn't have a huge amount of hard cover, and I knew I couldn't afford to get alpha struck. Right, I got first turn, and I wasn't able to effectively capitalize on it. So I should have played a little more cagey with my Land Raider to preserve it, to get the aggressors there, and I wasn't able to get my my Thunder Strike in play because I deployed it on the opposite side of the board where it could be covered. So I wasn't able to move it to get shooting on the thing, right, to get the +1 to wound. But would that have made a difference?
Gotcha.
I don't recall if it exactly would have. But anyway, the Dark Shroud played a big difference for him. It played a really big difference. So Dark Shrouds are a big ad for Ironstorm lists. Find the 120 points to put them in. They will give you the advantage over the similar lists. They absolutely will.
Gotcha.
And those lists are so unbelievably killy. Like all those plasma shots that are lethal hits, the ballistas as lethal hits, the freaking whirlwinds that are lethal hits, the lancers that are lethal hits. Oh my god. Anyway, so there you go.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations, Heath, on getting a couple wins and playing well and scoring a lot of points and having a good time. I know that's one of. Oh, lost my phone there. The problems of playing in or living in Hawaii is that there aren't tons of tournaments. So I'm glad that you had a chance to get a tournament in.
We're getting more often. I think there's actually one this weekend called Thanksgiving. Nice. But I chose to do be at home, right? Because I don't know, I always haven't been feeling great the last couple of weeks, and so I needed some time to just a 4-day weekend to reset, which was very, very warranted.
And very important to do.
Yeah. So anyway, and plus, I want to move away from. I don't know. This is a good list. I like it. I want to try and go back and play Unforgiven, but I really do. I think that with the additional knowledge about how this type of list functions, I can probably make something work with Unforgiven.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did play a Stormlance variant of something just at the game store a couple nights ago, or a couple weeks ago, or last week, and holy lord, it says 10 Deathwing Knights with a chaplain advance and charge. The Lion advance and charge. I moved up, and he had 2 Land Raiders and with 2 full squads of World Eaters, of Berserkers, and they got out. I was like, "Are you sure you want to let that happen?" He's like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." Okay. The Lion walked in and killed an entire squad of Khorne Berserkers in one go. The Deathwing Knights walked in, killed the other entire squad of Berserkers in one go. They had a Master of Executions with them, so they were able to fight. On death, or they had fight first, right? So they all swung before the Deathwing Knights, killed one, wiped the whole unit.
Oh no!
Right?
Yeah, that's never good.
And he's just like, "What the hell?" There you go. And I played Samael with a Ravenwing Command Squad, and that was real good. That Ravenwing Command Squad being OC3, right? They were able to move up, shoot, hold an objective, get shot, res a guy, move 18 inches, shoot, kill a unit of 8 bound, right? And then charge on his objective, right? Kill all the cultists, and then flip his home objective and score capture an outpost. So it's like, wow, this is okay. So that being said,
pretty good.
Samael already lets you advance and charge and shoot. So you don't need, the only thing you really need Stormlance for that is the guaranteed 9-inch advance and charge, which is a 2 CP battle tactic. Or sorry, it's a 2 CP warrior stratagem. And also they have a +1 to wound strat for mounted units. Right, which will effectively replace the Honor the Chapter you get in Gladius. If you do it in Unforgiven, you don't have access to that, but oh well. Right, and the Ravenwing Command Squad is a little more killer than the Black Knights. It is just everyday stuff because the Chapter Champion has a Mastercrafted power weapon, which is pretty good. It's like Strength 6, 6 attacks, AP 2, 2 damage. It's pretty monstrous. So, whereas regular Black Knights don't super impress me with their weapons, their rule is really cool. The anti-infantry monster 4+, but other than that, they're basically a delivery mechanism for Samael. So I would prefer to have these guys, but they're also like 40 more points for a unit of 6.
Gotcha.
There's some big number. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, I've talked a lot. What you got to say?
Well, I'm saying, is it almost time for the monthly challenge? Because you're probably going to like the news for that.
Let's do it.
All right. So we were supposed to do Company of Heroes, or some such thing.
I haven't finished it, but I'll call it 90% done with my Company Heroes. I wasn't sure if we were recording today or next week. Okay, so I did finish painting this Raven Apothecary. Sorry, Ancient. I also did a Terminator Chaplain. So I'll shoot you some pictures of the detail on that. I just got into a flow state one night and took that guy from underpainted, basic cut-ins to pretty much done in about an hour, right? And I was
nice.
And I was happy with that. So my Company Heroes, I'm pretty happy with where they're at. I need to put a head on one. I need to paint the banner, but other than that, they're basically done. And I need to base them. Oh, and I got these. You might like these. So base.
Yeah.
Right? So, hiya.
Oh,
these are magnet Baron bases.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we like that.
So, you like that?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. So that's, I think, I'm going to get some more of those because I actually also went through, and as you can see, I organized a lot of my shelves. Right, with these little plastic trays. So they're all actually organized by squad, right? And eventually what I want to do is rebase them all onto, or magnetize the bases so I can actually use my tableware case as it's intended with magnetized trays. So anyway, that's where we're at. But yeah.
All right. So I'm also about the same spot with my veterans, but I also don't have as many because I was trying to cheat my way in. So this is my veteran squad, or my String Guard veteran squad, that basically I'm just going to put them on 40 mil bases that I have. But pack game strong, do it a head swap, typical Dark Angels things. I put a hooded.
He's got some drip.
Yeah,
drips on point.
Put one of the Eliminator heads on the one with the heavy bolter, so it looks like he's got more targeting stuff and a backpack thing. And
that's a nice looking heavy bolter.
Thank you.
Hey, that's not the
So but there's still I want to do some of the casing, the backup round. I want to paint some of the casing on it a little bit more, things like that. And then the banner bearer I was working on is a guy that's basically been sitting half painted for years in my collection. Is the Blade Guard Ancient.
Blade Guard Veteran Ancient, yeah.
With the visual concept, it's kind of held me back forever. I didn't want to paint all of the bone on the guy on the banner, because I wanted it to be the idea that they didn't save all of him. They only were able to save half his skull and one finger off his hand and half his hip. And so the parts that are bone are the relics of this dead Space Marine, and then the rest of it is all bronze that, is there to kind of remind you that there is more to this man, but this is all we have left of him.
This is all we found. So the rest of it got melted. Yeah.
To go with it, I finally used this, it's a little bright there, but the Pro Acrylic Bold Titanium White. I got my hands on that, and that's what I will use to do the wings, the paper on the parchment on the scrolls, on this guy and all the other guys. So this has been a revelation. It comes out really thin, but it applies very well.
Titanium white, yeah.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed that.
Let me grab some.
Yeah. But compared to I've been using Games Workshop whites forever. I've been using the Army Painter regular white, but this is definitely a good product.
So So kind of the way I find my art style evolving is I don't know. I've you could probably call it a slap chop technique, but that's not. I'm not using it because I want to go fast. It's because I like the way it looks. When I finish these company heroes in the next couple days, I'll send some pictures. We can get them up in the
Yeah.
thing. But um, what I found myself doing is I'll cut in the base colors. Right. I'll the armor green. Right. The robes, the bone. Right. Or I'll build them up like dark brown. Mid brown,
Yeah.
light brown, bone, and then I dry brush the whole thing really heavily with Wraithbone, right? The contrast underpaint, right?
Okay.
And then it gives it this like almost dusty look, right? And then I'll
Okay.
go
Yeah.
back and I use the Army Painter Absolution Green Speed Paint, and that turns that armor. Oh my god, it looks so good,
All
right?
right. All
So
right.
so with you don't want to do it for black because it would be too dark, right? With green, and then you just dry brush like a kind of a creamy white, and then that it throws all your highlights in. It makes it look like it has texture. Oh, it looks because I was trying to do a more traditional layer painting and I just
Right.
couldn't get it the way I wanted it. It's like screw it, let me try this. Oh man, so that's how this squad has been painted up. Now, for white, I've been using this. This is Pro Acryl White Blue, and
Okay.
it has that like because the way your eye reads white is more in shades of like a light gray and a light blue,
Right.
and I find that honestly reads more like pure white than the titanium white does because I use once again lots of different shades of cream and bone
Right.
and this, right? So I want, and then I also use Army Painter's Speed Paint Holy White, right, to as my parchment, right, and this I
Okay.
use as the edge highlight on that. So I've been pretty happy with it. It's the Pro Curl paints. They have the little mixing ball in them. They come out real
Yeah.
thin and smooth compared to the pigments that like GW uses. Like Citadel whites are, with the exception of that Wraithbone, straight garb, right? Like the
Chonky.
what is it? They're chonky and they're chalky and I don't like them. The Corvex not Corvex,
Yeah, I know which ones
the
you're talking.
Apothecary
Yeah.
white. Yeah, oh my god, it's so bad, right? Like you need to basically yeah. Anyway, whatever. So
There's a lot of
um
work that goes into working with Games Workshop whites. I think that's
yeah,
fair to say.
yeah. Indeed. I also use a lot of Vallejo whites. If you can get it, Vallejo's either their model color white gray is really good,
Okay.
right? Their model color white gray is it reads as like a normal white, right? Because pure titanium white is, to me, my opinion, is a little too white to use in big flat surfaces on a
I see what you're
miniature.
saying.
But that white gray, right, especially when you like pin wash it a little bit, there you go, right? And the
Yeah, I see.
titanium white is high level highlights. So
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we have those. It's you overwhelm and it looks bad because it is so pure. Whereas your eyes looking for detail and you
yeah,
want small details to stick out on a big surface. Like that's why I like to go through and do all the rivets on all my tanks so they're not just
hmm
giant blocks of green. Like having those little
it
highlights of very bright metal makes little boxes of green instead of
hmm
giant. Yeah,
like
same. I get that. Put these guys back over here.
like the same reason why I do my tanks with all the
Yeah,
bone
the little
color
white
highlights, right?
blotches.
Because otherwise it's just too blocky. And also like you don't want to like if you have that's why black isn't like pure
Same.
black isn't great for a miniature because it's too black, right? It
Mm-hmm.
kills perspective, it kills texture, it kills contrast. So I've been using a lot of like either heavy coats of dark tone, like the wash, RVR
Yeah.
wash, or actually multiple coats of the contrast basilicanum gray or black Templar, right? Because you can
Yeah.
still get because once again, your eye doesn't read black as black, right? Your eye reads black as like varying shades of gray,
Yeah.
right? And maybe a little bit of blue or purple depending on the surrounding lighting. But yeah, so that's how I do my Raven Wing, right? Is a like a gray undercoat, and then a lot of washing down, and then dry brushing up, and then washing down, and then dry brushing up to kind of try and create those depths
Right.
of texture, right? So because it's really hard to get contrast, right? That your eye reads as varying panel lights, right? With just when everything's supposed to be freaking black. So
Yeah. That's where I like the Dark Reaper and the Incubi Darkness and the various grays, and you're having
yeah,
like you said, having that light blue. Like the difference I've noticed between having a blue black compared to just going from black to gray is that the gray black looks old and beaten, but if you have that little bit of blue, it makes it look a little more
yeah, a
alive,
little more,
fresh.
a little glossy. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can show different textures, like
Yes.
when you paint a Ravenwing bike's tires, right? The hull of the bike is black, right? But the tire is also black. But the rim, the wheel is also black, right? You can get that by doing, like, I use like a somber gray, which I
Yeah.
think is on a I think it's a Vallejo color anyway, but it's like a purplish black a little bit, right? And I use that for the tire, right? And then I use the gloss Nuln Oil, right, to wash it, so it looks a little shiny.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and you can do things with like lights, with reflectivity, right, opacity to kind of help create those contrasts with things that are just really visually similar. So
Yep.
not that I'm a skilled painter at all, but
Right.
I don't know. I was thinking, I was like, where I'm at now, like if I knew 20 years ago when I started playing this game that I could paint like I do now in 20 years, I'd be pretty happy with that. I think I'm not
That's
bad.
good.
I can do reasonable stuff. So
That's always the
I've
thing that I think that holds people back, but it's actually it becomes people's favorite thing is they look at this, go, how am I going to paint like that? It's like you just start
just do it.
painting,
Yeah, start right.
and as time
The
goes on and you feel more comfortable with it and you want to try different things, you just start adding and adding, and after 10, 15, 20 years, you're doing things you never thought you were ever going to be able to do, that a new person will walk by and
or
go, how could I ever do that? There's no way. And you're like, I used to be you once. I used to think I couldn't do
or
this.
less. Like
Yeah.
there's a guy that played his first tournament at this, at Other Realms. He plays Ultramarines, right? He's been playing the game for like a year and a half, 2 years, right? And he has an Ultramarine army that is beautiful, right? Because he just has a knack for it. He's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I just did the painting, and then I just like sprayed it with this and this, and he got these beautiful blue like gradients on his. Oh my god! It's like, Skylar, how the hell do you do this? Like,
Yeah.
wow. So yeah, like I said, it doesn't. And there's a kid, I say kid, right? I think he's 18 or 19. That plays Chaos, right? That is just, dude. He won best painted at this tournament. I'm a send some pictures. They need to be. Oh my god,
Okay.
right?
I like this.
Oh my god, he played Knights, and it was here. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you this right now.
Okay.
Share with.
I'll go. Open my Facebook so I can see this goodness. Because chaos. This is the fun part of chaos is the painting.
These aren't Chaos, so these are Imperial Knights. But
Okay.
I've only ever played against him with Chaos, but these are his Imperial Knights.
Gotcha.
Y'all, we're doing this live. And
Hey,
my phone is
sometimes it's
taking
how
a
you gotta
long
do it.
time to generate this message.
That's all right. So while that's loading, what are we gonna do for next? So I had written down, because of the preview, doing maybe some Terminators, but I want to save my Terminators till I get those extra bits, or doing a Chaplain. But you already did a Chaplain in Terminator armor, so
How about this? It's November. Next month is December, right? This is you usually, I think, not that we have a deep history, because we've been doing this show for like 3 years, man.
yeah,
Holy
it'll
crap.
be year 3 once this next
So,
month. Yeah.
we could just we could resolve. Where are we at on the score on the monthly challenge?
All right,
What's the
I gotta
what?
go look it up. It's close. I think I'm ahead by like 10 points right now.
Okay.
The last time I looked. But I also feel like I missed some scoring at one point. I got to go back in like July. Oh yeah, so I don't have any score. Hold on,
I sent it to you I sent you this picture as a text because I can't get Messenger to work for some reason.
Okay, yeah. So I'm missing some points. I got to get some data points for July and June. But as it sits, I'm up 90 to 80 for the year.
Okay. Well,
without counting
that's where
this
we're at.
month or December. But yeah, some point for some reason I just missed scoring for June and July, so I'll go back and find those. I'll watch the episodes and figure out what we did.
Okay.
But that's kind of where
Yeah,
we're
let me
at.
know.
You had a really big May because like you just had one of your months.
I
Where
did
you're
a lot
like,
of stuff. Yeah,
yeah, you're like, I'm just gonna do a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, all right, let's give Heath his just desserts because he worked really hard this month. Because you do have a couple goose eggs this year
I do.
that you've made up for
Okay.
it. So, all right,
All right. I have sent you a Google photo album
okay.
as well as that one text message. But
Oh
see if you can put
my,
them in there. Oh, mama, right?
yeah,
Right. Put them up. Put them up in the thing right here.
yeah.
Good God, this kid is 19 years old.
Wow,
He's been playing this game for maybe 2 years.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
We all were. That's why he won Best Painted. It's
Yeah,
um
and his
go.
non
Oh,
and his
good God,
non-metallic game is very good.
is on point, right? And the freehand, the
Mm-hmm.
posing, y'all. I'm not
Yeah,
even joking.
yeah, you're gonna
Right?
like
Good
this when I
God.
get this in the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Daddy likes those. So anyway, so let's say let's a monthly challenge. Let's resolve the year's challenge, and then I will finish my my company heroes. See if I get him up for this, and then I probably, if you want to say like Terminators as a stretch or a flex goal, right? I can try and start working on my Knights Cenobium, but
Okay,
I don't
I'm
know.
probably gonna
Or just
crack
do whatever you want.
open
Yeah,
that. I'll probably end up cracking open that Terminator or Chaplain Terminator, the new one, and work on him a
yeah.
little bit. I finally got new glue today. I think that's the thing that's been holding me back hobby wise because I've literally been working on some dwarves slayers for fantasy and these company of heroes for a month. Like I just had no hobby motivation at all. But I
Mm,
think part of it's the fact knowing that I don't have everything I need to hobby properly because I ran out of plastic glue and I just got my resupply today. So I'm hoping that gives me the I don't know the fire to keep going because it's been a real
yeah,
struggle. Like I knew we were getting ready to record, and I'm like, man, I just cannot keep painting these. And it's only like of all the things I've painted this year, it's like I have 3 guys to paint, and it's just like no, I don't want to do it.
that
So I don't know
sucks.
what's going on.
I've been there. I've been there. Like for me, it's just I just have to sit down and do it. And sometimes I'm sitting there look at something and I just don't feel the. And
Yeah,
then I said, for me, what it is, I go to YouTube and I put on some epic music thing, and you just gotta just start, right? You
yeah,
just gotta put something, do whatever it needs. I'm just gonna base code it, and then hopefully that
yeah,
process will start and it'll kick you going, right? So yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And then once I get kind of point I'm like, okay, I start to know what I think it's going to look like. Then I'm like, okay, and then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and it just starts. It just snowballs, right? It hits critical mass. So
yeah. No, exactly. Well, and I also have got I got a game day lined up in a couple weeks, and playing always
nice.
gets me more motivated to hobby. So I'm hoping going out and having a game day give me some motivation, get my brains turning, going, well, I want to play with this, or I want to bring this in. Oh, I don't have it built. It's not even painted yet. And it's like, all right, there's the motivation. I get it going. So, all right. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll
Well,
work
good.
on some termies and a chaplain, and we'll call it a year. It'll be 3 years completed, which is will be pretty sweet. We've held on. We've
Three,
survived.
three.
Uh, so we'll go to a community interaction next. So Alan, Big Alan in the comments. So he's gotten here for us. I believe Aiden ran the Gravis Captain solo as a hard to remove action piece. The heavy intercessors were objective sitters, I believe. So this was one of the lists from last month where there was a Gravis Captain and some heavy intercessors. And so they were not bodyguards. So that's interesting to think about. Um, Azrael can't lead company of
Yeah,
heroes currently. They must be led by a chapter master or a captain, but the captain must also be able to lead them. If you look in the codex, some can and some can't. For example, jump captain cannot. This is likely to change at some point, but currently is not legal. When it is legal, I'll be using them as a bodyguard on my home objective as a CP farm. P.S. Apothecary cannot join them at all. Okay, so all that
yeah. I
fun
think
stuff.
I've played him once. I was like, this is clearly like I played it on a Wednesday night. I was like, this is clearly intended to be allowable, so I did. If the keywords don't line up, and I trust Alan to make to tell us if it is or is not. I'll do when we're looking at it, and then but
Yeah,
hopefully, yeah, that'll be. I assume they'll have a data slate in January. That'll
get
hopefully sort this out. If not, boys and girls, write your local GW congressman.
Yeah,
Or member of parliament. Probably member of parliament. Member of parliament. So.
Get on the old X and start adding a Warhammer community till you get what you want. That's how we got Plastic Sisters, right?
Is it?
And Old World back.
Is it?
No.
Is it though? It's probably not.
That's what we like to. That's what we like to tell ourselves. I had the same view. Yeah.
But if you do remember the reveal stream they did for 9th edition, like in June or May of 2020, all the stuff that was behind Stu Black's head, plastic Angron, squats, like all that stuff came true. So they weren't lying. They weren't trolling. They were telling you. You just didn't take them serious.
That's
don't think I don't see you. I see you, Stu.
That's like when they had Duncan Rhodes in the trash can for the secret laboratory. And he's like, what are these? Plastic Sisters of Battle? And that was the last line of the video. And then they did the Sisters of Battle clock that they couldn't turn back anymore because it broke. And I'm like, all right, guys. That's when they were like, here's another Primaris Lieutenant. And it's the dead one at the feet of Bellicor. And you're like, all right, guys. We see you. All right, so.
Rage. But the rage. It's fine.
Seeing Omuse of the rage of Atreus' son Achilles or whatever it is. Patroclus. No, Patroclus is that. Whatever. You get the idea. Anyway, so now it's the same view of the line. He doesn't need the lieutenant with combi weapon to screen him. Even when he's in the open, he's very hard to kill, except dev wounds, which pick him up. Right. So when we get the feel no pain, mortal wound work around, maybe he'll come back into competitive play, but as long as his mortal wound, feel no pain doesn't work on dev wounds, he's probably in trouble. And that has been my experience as well from the last episode. So go look at the October episode where I talk about going to Tampa, because dev wounds is what took him out of the game.
I think all they need to do is change it to say mortal wounds or devastating wounds.
Yeah.
Because the change to devastating wounds was useful, right? But like big centerpiece characters like that need some form of protection against it. So okay.
Especially when he clearly has defense that was originally intended to stop it, and then they changed it to where you can't. So, and then apparently there's a note for me here. Oh, final comment. The video cuts out mid Heath's sentence. Something was up this last episode with our editing software, and they have since released an update, and I'm currently trying to download it. It didn't work, so I got to re-download it. But yeah, there was something in the 18.6.2 that there's now an 18.6.3, and you needed it because it was it was not working very well. It would crash all the time. I'd constantly get these messages trying to get me to buy the studio version, which is like a $300 program, and I'm just
don't do that.
No,
we don't need that.
So I'm hoping that this update and usually Blackmagic Design and Resolve, they're very good at getting when there is an issue. The updates come out fairly quickly, and it's come out recently. So this month's episode will be on the 18.6.3 or something equivalent, and it should go pretty well. But I can understand, because sometimes I can't catch editing errors because the software is just, it struggles for some odd reason.
We use Vinci around here because no one wants to spend $50 a month on Premiere.
Yep.
That's just how it is. So anyway, we try our best. But obviously, we're not a professional level production, and we do some stuff gets through. So, okay.
But we'll work on it.
How true? Yep, we are working on it. We're doing our best. So,
all right. So thank you all for listening to this month's episode of The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our next episode will be out. We got 2 major holidays on our normal filming weekend, so now I'm kind of like, what are we gonna do?
I'm flying. We're going on vacation internationally for Christmas. So, and then the week after that, I am flying internationally for work. So I'm going to cross the date line 4 times in 3 weeks.
Ooh.
So we'll figure out what we can do. We'll see if we can get one in between New Year's and me going to anyway. So
I got you.
We'll figure something. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. So okay.
We'll get something figured out.
Maybe on New Year's Day or something like that, because that's at least a holiday for me. But anyway,
it'll be a holiday. I have that day off, so it'll work out for me too. So we'll try and do something there to wrap up December 2023. So please subscribe, like, and comment below if you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your preferred podcasting service. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. And until next time, I'm Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
Heath with Team Tib War Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.